Hi, this is Brian White, Managing Broker, Realty 1 Tempe, Arizona. Today we're going to talk about the new Arizona purchase contract that takes effect on February 1st, 2001. It is officially here, the changes we've been waiting for. Flipping the switch, February 1st is the day we convert to the new purchase contract. We suggest that you request that your sellers permit you to add language to the private remarks stating that any offers submitted on or after February 1st will be written on the new Arizona purchase contract. Properly done, we have a document in MyRog for this. PDF print that document and put it into your miscellaneous documents within MyRog. Now we start out with the changes with the cover page, where there's an emphasis placed on making sure that your clients get a general home inspector as well as select experts as necessary with regards to heating and cooling, mold, pest, pool, and roof inspectors. The cover page continues with a reminder that to your buyers to read the HOA and CC&Rs. There's also a explanation with regards to the walkthrough. Now remember, this cover page should be delivered to your buyers far in advance of them actually signing the contract. I would consider providing it to your clients at the same time you give them market conditions and the Arizona Buyer Advisory. Earnest money proof of funds, they gave us a welcome change. Previous contract stated that the buyer's agent was in possession of the earnest money. That is no longer the case. Earnest money is due upon acceptance of this offer. Your benchmark rule for earnest money being due would be 2 business days after acceptance. They've also included on lines 19 and 20 that a letter of credit or source of funds, a proof of funds, if there's an all cash sale, will be included in the contract. So every offer you get should either have a loan pre-qual or a cash buyer's proof of funds. The other bonus to this is we no longer need to add the additional clause addendum to require proof of funds as part of this. If the additional clause addendum is foreign to you, I suggest you look in zip forms. It is a very, very good document that has many uses and is probably the most underutilized document of all the ones that we have. Funds to close, the failure to cure to breach. Lines 29 and 30 state that the failure to pay the required closing funds by close of escrow is not a contingency. Therefore, your buyers cannot come up with, we don't have the funds to close and get their earnest money back. This does have to be cured. Line 31 also emphasizes that all funds are to be in U.S. currency. Now, if you have a foreign buyer, those funds should be transferred to a U.S. bank, not directly to title, as few, if any, title companies will allow foreign funds to be directly deposited to them. Pre and post possession. Notice, if we need to do pre and post possession, the contract advises the buyers and sellers to counsel with insurance, legal, tax, and accounting professionals due to the risks of pre and post possession. This is why we want you to have a broker phone call before you do any pre or post possession processes in your transaction, and do not ever use a lease for pre or post possession unless you've been directed to by the broker group. This is very necessary due to the possibility of creating tenancy by using a lease. Fixtures and personal property got a terrific clarification. They added the remotes for ceiling fans, the remotes for garage door openers. They included outdoor landscaping, shrubbery trees, unpotted plants, affixed timers, the wall brackets and hardware. They made it easier to not get the televisions and the brackets included in the deal unless you intended to do so. Now understand that with this addition, these are only the items that are in your seller's possession. If they don't have the remotes, if they don't have the extra mailbox keys, they're not required to give the buyers anything that is not in their possession as of the time of offer acceptance. Seller-owned items. We often fail at this one. Starting point with solar systems. Now, we have a solar addendum in MyRog that should be part of every transaction with a solar system. Again, we've included the in-ground pool, spa, hot tub cleaning equipment, security systems. These are owned items that are to be included with the sale. Personal property, we got better options for including multiple refrigerators. They gave us more space because so many homes now have more than one refrigerator. Also more than one washer and dryer. Now you will want to be specific with which items are to be included, so there's no confusion between the garage fridge and the one in the kitchen. Clarity on line 59 with regards to above ground spas. They are included unless they are specifically excluded, as line 59 gives you. And then line 60 and 60, or excuse me, 61 and 62 just gave us more room for other personal property included. But please don't use this as a place for furniture to be included, because putting furniture in the contract on a finance deal could create some significant problems with underwriting and appraisal. Furniture included in the transaction should be done on a separate bill of sale. Leased items. This is going to be a new notice. Any leased items, typically these would be RO systems, security systems, water softeners. The seller shall provide notice of all leased items within 3 days after contract acceptance. Now, the warning with this is, with this notice, the buyer has 5 days after receipt of this notice or the end of the inspection period, whichever is later. So if you deliver this notice with the accepted purchase offer, the buyers have through the inspection tier to reject. Otherwise, it's 5 days after delivery of this leased items notice. This is a great coverall. In case sellers have forgotten a leased item on the spuds, they can still disclose to the buyers any leased items that they're aware of that will not be conveying, and the buyers then have the right to accept or reject going forward. We've clarified the loan contingency. What is clarified is the contingency per the loan is per the pre-qual or the LSU, whichever is later. This contingency is no later than 3 days prior. They are either to sign the loan documents, deliver to title or escrow, notice of approval without prior to docs conditions, or deliver to seller the inability to obtain loan approval without prior to docs conditions, i.e. the loan contingency. Your key to this is, again, the pre-qual or the LSU is your trigger, whichever was delivered later. Unfulfilled loan contingency is spelled out a little bit better for us. There's in the contract to settle a lot of disputes. It's noted that if prior to the expiration of any cure period, the buyer can deliver inability to obtain loan approval and get their earnest money back. So if you cure them for loan docs, they deliver the inability to get a loan, they'll get their earnest money back. If you cure for close of escrow, they can deliver loan denial up to and through the time frame that the cure expires, and the buyer will still receive their earnest money back. Having this spelled out in the contract, that delivery of an unfulfilled loan contingency before the cure expires gets the buyer their earnest money back, just is going to eliminate a lot of fights for us. Point to discuss and clarify. Buyer's failure to rate lock. We're expecting we could see at least 2 rate increases in 2017. It's going to be important for the buyer's agents to talk to their clients about getting their rate locked, because the failure to lock their rate, if there is a rate change, will not result in an unfulfilled loan contingency. So the buyers cannot cancel in that situation and get their earnest money back. So you're going to want to work with your buyers, with their lenders, so that they do select a time to rate lock, because failing to lock the rate will not allow them to cancel and get their earnest money back. Seller concessions. Seller concessions are clearly defined in the contract. It is a narrow description. You may want to consider expansion of this language on 8A of the purchase contract, possibly to include things like home warranty, some more prepaids to HOAs. There's a lot of possibilities. This is a great broker discussion phone call. But remember that the description here is pretty narrow, so it is possible we could leave some seller closing concession money on the table, sticking with what is simply written here. Appraisal costs. Appraisal costs now, they've cleaned it up versus the last contract, made it a bit easier for us. Because the appraisal fee, who it's to be paid by, it's a reminder to the seller that the appraisal is due when required by the lender and non-refundable. Also, it includes a reminder that any appraiser revisits, checking for repairs, or second appraisals are responsible to be paid for by the buyer. Taking title, last piece on the first of two videos we're going to have on the new purchase contract. Taking title now in the contract with regards to buyer being married, taking in their sole and separate, and a disclaimer deed is required. This is prompting your buyers to get the appropriate legal estate planning and tax advice if they are going to do a transaction where they will need to have one party sign a disclaimer deed. At this point, I'm going to wrap up the first half. This is video 1 of 2, and we will see you on part 2.